What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy J Strike 3000, and the Marvel Tokon beta is just around the corner. I pray that we all get in. But before the beta comes out, I wanted to talk to you about your character choices for Marvel Tokon. That's right, your character choices. A couple weeks ago, I put out my video for my character choices for the Marvel Tokon roster. And at the end of it, I said, but let me know in the comments who you think should definitely be in this game, who I even forgot about. I am actually interested in seeing the characters that people want to be in this game. And today, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna actually look at the comments of that video and talk about your character choices. But before we get into the roster picks, I do want to point out, I do want to mention, after the Evo demo, a lot of people have been mentioning that this game feels more like a 1v1 game where each person has 3 assists. It's not really an assist heavy game where you're like swapping back and forth, in and out, in and out, in and out. That probably might limit my roster from like 32 to more like a 16 to 20. And then we're going to get more and more and more with DLC as time goes on. I think 32 was a bit ambitious on my part. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I'm still pretty confident in my character picks. I'm still pretty confident. But hey, the time for judging my character roster is over. Now it's time to judge yours. Starting with this one. I think the intro roster teases the teams that could be built. At least 2 Avenger teams, 2 X-Men teams, a Spider-Verse team, Champions team, Villains team, Fantastic Four, yada, yada, yada. You get the idea. And you know what? This idea is so good, I'm actually mad that I didn't think of it first. Especially now after all the Evo footage, we got to see like the character select screen and how like player 1 and player 2 picks their teams. After you build your team, the announcer says Marvel Tokon, the Tokon Fighters versus the Tokon Warriors. I think that if you build like an actual team of like canon team ups, he's gonna say like the actual team names instead of just generic Tokon Warriors versus Tokon Fighters. Especially when you get into like this really specific team ups, like the West Coast Avengers team, or like an Uncanny X-Men team or X-Force team, the combinations would go crazy. Think a Defenders team? 2 Defenders teams? Cinema. So there may be some truth to this setup, or at least a hint to like what the roster is gonna look like, including like DLC going forward too, that they want to always have like a 4 team that when you put together, the announcer says some cool thing. Next up, I honestly wouldn't be against the Baymax pick if it was the comic book accurate version, where he was Hero's sorta monstrous bodyguard who has the AI of Hero's dead father. Now that's something I didn't actually think about. The Baymax I put in my roster is from the movie Big Hero 6, but Big Hero 6 is based on the actual comic book. So they could just take the comic book version. This is what the comic book version looks like, by the way. Crazy. I don't know. I don't know why he looks like a balloon in the Disney movie, but that's fine too. Next comment. I think this roster is very solid and can end up being very accurate. I agree with the must-haves, the ones we expect, the unexpected weirdos. I think there'll be at least a couple of industry plants. Squirrel Girl, an industry plant? I can't agree, but I will continue. And something for the edgelords, Venom or Deadpool. I also personally hope that the Fantastic Four is not separate characters, but an all-in-one character like Ginyu from Dragon Ball FighterZ. I do not want an all-in-one character. I need 4 separate characters for my Fantastic Four. Me personally, I need 4 separate characters. However, Venom and Deadpool. We can get a Venom and Deadpool. Excellent picks, excellent choices. I'm not mad at them. I didn't put them on my list, but they probably should get in. Let's be honest with you. All right, next one. Real disappointing to me to pick Black Widow over Nick Fury. I get the needs more women defense, but in the other roster picks up to that point, you got 5 other characters who have prominent female versions that you could pick instead of the male counterpart. I don't think you're getting female Thor. I don't think we're getting X-23 over Logan. I don't think we're getting Shuri over T'Challa. The biggest ones are Loki and Hawkeye, maybe. I do not think we're getting Kate Bishop Hawkeye, but maybe. As for Black Widow in particular, I think there's a few other femme fatale, super spy, skin tight, athletic characters who will fill the same gameplay niche that I'd rather see, including Mystique. That's my #1 for that role. I don't know if Mystique and Loki are getting into this game. If you're getting a shapeshifter, I think Loki is a little more interesting to Mystique because he can at least copy the powers better. But overall, Nick Fury. I really tried my best to fit Nick Fury onto this roster. I think he gets overlooked in a lot of people's Marvel rosters for games. Honestly, I think he'd be a great fit for Marvel Rivals as well. I think people overlook Nick Fury. He is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. But I do think I'm still sticking by my choice for Black Widow over Nick Fury, but I wouldn't be mad at either. I truly wouldn't be mad at either. Next one. The roster looks fun, but I think there should be more villains. Where is Magneto, Taskmaster, Ultron, Venom, Kingpin, Mephisto? No. Now look, I got a lot of comments about not having enough villains, and I do agree. I agree with you. This is a comment I agree with. This is a sentiment I agree with. Not enough villains in my roster. I don't know where I would make the swaps because I love everybody in my roster, but there definitely needs to be a little more villain representation. But fuck Null. I hate Null. I think Null is a whack character, but that's me personally. Also, let's take a look at this. All right, I wanted to point this out. Weird picks: Strong Man, Multiple Man, Radioactive Man, Songbird, Baron Zemo, the Sphinx, and Night Trasher. All right, this guy might know ball. He might know ball. I'm familiar with most of these picks from either cartoons or video games or the comics themselves or wherever. But the Sphinx and Night Thrasher, I've never heard of before in my life. I had to do a quick Google search for those two. That being said, I don't think any of these are getting in. I don't think any of these characters are getting in, to be fair with you. Next comment: not seeing Rocket in this game is weird. He's pretty much become one of the faces of Marvel. He should be in the roster, and Arc System Works are known for their puppet fighters. Also, all the Fantastic Four doesn't seem possible. Forget that last comment. Forget that last sentence. Get that out of here. But yeah, with Rocket, I was trying to stray away from like the usual picks. I was trying to get more strange picks for my roster. I wanted something that's different than both Marvel Rivals and old MVC games. That's why I didn't include them in my roster. If they really are doing this comic accurate, 4 teams, 4 from each team, 4 characters from each team, then Rocket's definitely going to be in as like a Guardians rep. If you need 4 Guardians, Rocket's definitely going to get in. So next comment: bring me Reptile. He'd be sick with all his possible dino transformations. I love Reptile. I remember seeing him a part of the back in the day. I was like, oh shit, this show got Dinosaur Beast Boy. But I think he have a cool moveset potential. He could transform any body part of his into like a dinosaur variation or some sort of some sort. I think he got a moveset potential. I like this pick. Next up, Cyclops has been in a 3D fighter. It's called X-Men Next Dimension. I've never heard of this game. In my video, I said that Cyclops has never been in a 3D fighter. I was wrong. I've never heard of X-Men Next Dimension before, but it looks kind of sick. PlayStation 2 era game. Maybe I should find a way to play it for the channel. I don't know, maybe. Next one, some new oddball picks I personally want. Mr. Sinister. Magneto's so heavily associated with MVC that I think Tokon could set itself apart with a different X-Men villain, plus his semi-recent personality rework would be so fun. I like this a lot. We get a lot of Magneto talk. We never get Mr. Sinister talk. I think he has a moveset potential on him. He's a very weird guy. Maybe the second biggest reoccurring villain for the X-Men. He needs to be in more stuff. Armor or Temper? Need some post 99 X-Men stuff, and either would be fun inclusions. Armor and Temper. I hear a lot of talk of Armor. A lot of people have been asking for Armor for Marvel Rivals. Temper, we haven't heard so much about. We don't really talk about Temper, but getting some newer X-Men would be cool because we always see the same X-Men. So getting some new age X-Men heroes would be kind of cool. Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur would be so sick. I don't know what team they would be a part of, but it would be so sick to put them in, please. And then Gore the God Butcher. He was slightly wasted in Thor Love and Thunder. Redemption. We could bring him back. We could make him sick. Everybody would love him. It would be cool. I agree with all the picks in this comment. These are some good picks. Nothing wrong with anyone's list, but we can only dream of a 32 at launch. Dragon Ball FighterZ only had 21 and still miss key characters with DLC like Raditz. Only 2 Fantastic Four characters, so Thing and Sue Storm. There's also like a villains like Mephisto, Doc Ock, Apocalypse, Mandarin, obscure characters like Black Knight, Molecule Man, and Nightmare. And I love to see for myself Polaris, Toxin, and Galactus. Toxin over Venom and Carnage. That's a strange pick. I feel like we would even get Scream before Toxin. So Doc Ock, Apocalypse, Mandarin, Black Knight, Molecule Man, Nightmare, Polaris, Toxin, and Galactus. Imagine a playable Galactus. I don't know. Oh, I think Galactus might be too much. I think he might be too much. Asking for a playable Galactus might be too much, but if they can figure out a way to make it cool, I'll take it. I don't think it will work, but I'll take it. Apocalypse, another super popular X-Men villain that isn't Magneto. I don't hate Magneto. I don't mind Magneto. If Magneto wants to, if they want to put Magneto in, I wouldn't be mad. But I'd like to see more X-Men villains get more shine outside of him. It's always him. It's always him. And Mandarin. Nobody talks about Mandarin. Nobody talks about Mandarin. Mandarin is so cool to me. He is kind of, you know, maybe a little offensive, maybe a little too stereotypical, but I feel like a rework is in order. I feel like he's one of Iron Man's biggest villains. I'm sure they can make him sick. Molecule Man and Nightmare would go crazy. Playable Molecule Man would go stupid. Some of these characters are just a little too powerful. Maybe a little too powerful to be playable, I will admit. But I love how wild some of these character picks can get. I love how wild they are. Reminder that Ultraman is a Marvel property. Now we're getting into the details. I know the Tokon devs are specifically talking about how there's a lot of Japanese influence into this game. You can literally look at Iron Man and see that. Ultraman in this game would go stupid, actually. Now that is a crazy pick. It's not a character you commonly associate with Marvel. I'm pretty sure there would be a section of the fan base that would be upset if Ultraman got into this game. But I think it'd be sick. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be neat. I think it'd be different. Next comment. Idea. Loki is the reason behind a mirror match. Like the opening fight shows Loki transform into the person he's fighting. If you really want to cheapen Loki. I can see this kind of happening, kind of like 11 in Street Fighter 5, where it's kind of just like a random select, but he's not the actual random select, but he could turn into whatever character he needs to. I can see them doing that, or having an in-universe reason as to why there's a mirror match. That would be kind of fun, or having some shapeshifter do that. If you don't want to have him as an actual full-on character, he could just turn into one. Next comment. My out of nowhere pick is Armor. She's Japanese. She has a samurai aesthetic and is the current lead of the Ultimate X-Men comics. And she has a really unique moveset potential. I think she'd be a slam dunk. Also, my other big wishes are Daredevil, the GOAT, Iron Fist, She-Hulk, and Green Goblin. If we get these 5, I'll be happy. Awesome picks. Incredible picks. I never really talked about the Ultimate Marvel comics that are going around right now. And that might have some influence on Marvel Tokon's roster picks. That might make a lot of sense. Armor is starting to make a lot more sense. I never really thought about it like that. How come there are 3 X-Men and yet 9 Avengers? Listen, I hate to be that guy. I do think X-Men is like the second biggest Marvel property behind Spider-Man. I could have fit more X-Men to my roster, but I will say this. Marvel vs. Capcom was built on X-Men. Was literally built on X-Men. Capcom's first game in the series kinda was X-Men Children of the Atom. Then that turned into X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and then it slowly evolved into what is Marvel vs. Capcom, which is why the X-Men are more essential in MVC than they would in a brand new Marvel fighting game. There probably isn't gonna be that many X-Men as there are in MVC. We need to realize this now before the roster comes out and we all get disappointed. I do think this game is going to be a lot more Avengers based. Not that there's not going to be any X-Men in, of course. They already have Storm, and I can't imagine this game coming out and not having Wolverine. But we might have to wait for some DLC before we start seeing our favorite X-Men. You need villains. I'm aware. I would choose Blackheart, Omega Red, Magneto, Shuma Gorath, and Juggernaut. And Deadpool has to be on the list. I'm starting to see that some of these picks are a little too Marvel vs. Capcom coded. I will say that. I wouldn't mind any of these returning, but we're hoping for a lot. We're trying to turn this game into something that it clearly isn't. Blackheart? Blackheart is an insane pick. I think it's still insane that Blackheart got into Marvel too. I don't know what he's doing there. I think Shuma-Gorath is actually in the New York stage in the background, so I don't think he's gonna be a playable character in that. I'm still hoping for my GOAT Angel to get into the Marvel fighting game. Founding member of the X-Men, and he gets zero respect. He deserves his flowers. Mockingbird and Swordmaster would be cool as well. I completely agree that Angel doesn't get his flowers. That being said, I don't know what his moveset would be. He has some punch, he has some kicks, he would fly around. I would be more interested in seeing a Falcon in this game more so than an Angel. Maybe you might get more of a moveset potential with Archangel. That's the only problem with adding Angel to a fighting game. It's kind of hard to like do stuff with him. I support Fantastic Four in the roster, base or DLC, but hopefully Ben Grimm isn't an Echo Fighter of the Hulk. Very smash-coded lingo in this comment. Honestly, I don't understand why people think that the Hulk and the Thing would have a similar moveset in a fighting game, when we've had previous fighting games with two big, strong guys, and they're like nothing alike. Like you've had Hulk and Juggernaut in the game before. You also got Colossus in that same game. He's just a strong guy, and he plays completely different than those two. Even looking at games like Street Fighter, you could see the difference between like a character like Hugo and Abigail and Zangief and Marissa, who are all just like big, strong characters, but they operate completely different from each other. I think it will work. I think we're gonna be okay. I think they can make it work. And then we'd love to see Mr. Fantastic, but they already have Miss Marvel powers, so I don't think they're gonna make the final cut. I think you can do something different than Mrs. Fantastic. I think Mr. Fantastic and Miss Marvel, they have like a similar power, but what they do with them is so different that you can make them a completely different character. I think you can get really weird and wacky with Mr. Fantastic in a fighting game. That's all I'll say. And then we have, I would make space for Nightcrawler, Jane Foster, Thor, Wasp, Wiccan, Carnage, Deadpool. And you need more, and you need an X-Men villain. Best would be a playable Apocalypse or Magneto. But I would love to see a Sauron in a versus game. Sauron is a crazy pick. Sauron is an awesome pick. And honestly, in that first Marvel Tokon like trailer that they put out where they were talking about development, there is like a quick shot of a dinosaur head, which kind of leads me to believe that there might be a Savage Land stage, which would make the Sauron pick kind of, you know, possible. Maybe there's more to this Sauron pick than we realize. Also, Nightcrawler would be sick, especially if they made him like a sword fighter that teleports. I kind of like some of these picks in here. Next up, we have Lodestar Joe, who also made a roster prediction video. Now, I'm not gonna spoil who's in it. I'm not gonna spoil his characters. You gotta click on the video and watch it for yourself. But I will say one character that I thought was really interesting was the Champion. He's basically just like an alien guy that goes around and tries to fight the strongest warriors in the universe. He tries to claim that he's the strongest in the universe. And the reason this pick is so interesting to me is because there's actually like little hints in the trailer that suggest that he might be in the game. He might be the boss of the game or a playable character, or might just have a stage that's based on him, but there's references to him in the game. So he might actually be in. That might be the whole premise of the game, is that people are just trying to prove that they're the strongest in the universe. I think it's kind of smart. I think it's kind of cool. I think it's kind of clever. I need to get my hands on this beta. Let me in. Let me in. Because when this game comes out, I'm playing it night and day. I'm becoming a master. I'm becoming a god of the game. I'm gonna be a god of the game. I promise you. But that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do what I still to YouTubers say to do at the end of that video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff to YouTubers say to do at the end of that videos. Do it for my video because I would appreciate it. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.